So today I woke up wanting to make the end-all be-all video on how to handle disrespect and how to punish disrespect. In this video, my goal is so that you guys don't have to watch any other video about this topic. And we're gonna show you how to use your nonverbal cue to deter disrespect, right? We're gonna show you how to use controlled anger, controlled rage to defend yourself, because a lot of the times when we like the person, we don't have the willpower to follow through. And that's actually one of the biggest problems. And also I'm gonna give you guys throughout the video my experience with a story time of me going through disrespect, me tolerating disrespect, and me putting her in her place, goddammit, right? And after that, we're gonna show you guys a video breakdown, a clip that exemplifies how to handle disrespect at the nonverbal and paraverbal, which means your tone of voice level, all right? And because a lot of the times we inspire disrespect simply because of our demeanor. Seriously. And yeah, this is gonna be really fascinating. So sit down, watch, or else I'm closing the channel. And don't forget, we're having 60% off all of our courses using the coupon code MINDFUL, and 30% off all of our one-on-one sessions, private one-on-one sessions, confidential one-on-one sessions, using the coupon code MINDFUL, okay? So that means you could purchase Emotional Mastery and Charisma Blueprint, which are my new courses. Let's continue with all right? So look, first of all, disrespect, usually when people disrespect you, a lot of the times they don't do it in an aggressive way. A lot of the times disrespect comes with a smile or with tears and with a lot of sorries, but it doesn't come with changing of behavior. In other words, they cancel on you and they say sorry, but they keep doing it. They want to see you and they miss you, but they live 2 blocks away, and they don't seem to want to make that trip, right? Usually disrespect comes because people think you're stupid. People think that they can play you. Most likely you did something to make them think that they could get away with the disrespectful action. Because usually when people disrespect you, it's because you gave them a cue that you can be disrespected. Usually people don't try to disrespect people of power, people who could fight back, people who can do something about the disrespect. People usually try to go for the easy wins, for something that doesn't fight back, for something that doesn't cause any pain. So most likely the disrespect happens because they might think you're easily gonna take him back. They might think that you're too weak. They might think that you can't fight back. They might think that you're gonna crumble under pressure. And so that's why they test you to see what they could get away from you. For example, when an alligator is your friend and you stop moving in the water, what the alligator does is that it kind of, before he eats you, he kind of bumps you with his nose to see whether or not you're alive. And if they notice that you're not alive, well, guess what? You became lunch. Now, what causes the alligator to attack you? The lifelessness, right? Because I was studying about how alligators who are pets, why they don't attack their owners. And that's because the owner stands upright and doesn't look like he's dying or doesn't look like he's weak. But if the owner acts weak, the alligator's not gonna attack. The alligator's gonna try you first, right? To see whether or not you're alive or dead, right? So, oh, look at that, the inclusive squirrel. So it's the same thing with this, is that people don't really disrespect you 100% in the beginning, but what they do is that they do little signs of disrespect to see your reaction.
Instead of trying to avoid conflict or whining about the injustice of it all, consider an option developed over the centuries by military leaders and strategists to deal with violent and acquisitive neighbors: reverse intimidation. This art of deterrence rests on 3 basic facts about war and human nature. First, people are more likely to attack you if they see you as weak or vulnerable. Second, they cannot know for sure that you're weak. They depend on the signs you give out through your behavior, both present and past. Third, they are after easy victories, quick and bloodless. That is why they prey on the vulnerable and weak.
Okay, now, your reaction to little signs of disrespect, a lot of the times, if it's a little disrespect, a lot of times, if you're weak, you can let that go. But if you're actually strong, what happens is that the disrespect, they can see that you're not pleased, right? Little forms of disrespect, a lot of the times, shouldn't be reacted with an aggressive move, like leaving them or never talking to them. Sometimes little forms of disrespect you punish that with just a face, with just your face. your coldness, your anger, you showing anger in your face. In fact, we're gonna watch a video of Paulie from Goodfellas of how he handled disrespect. He handled disrespect with just your face. Okay, so this scene is from Goodfellas, and the point of this scene is to show you how your eye contact is and your facial expression is your first line of defense. To let them know that what they did is disrespectful. Your first line of defense. And notice, and what he wants them to be is to be more quiet, right? And notice how he addresses that issue. Watch. Right here. All right, that's a guy from The Sopranos. Right?
Tony Cicero.
Those are all the people who are under Paulie, which is the main guy. Watch. And now they're gonna play with each other.
Tootie ran the cab stand and La Bella Vista Pizzeria and a few other places for his
Right, they're being like kids, right? That's normal, right? And look what happens.
brother Paul, who was the boss over everybody in the
That's
neighborhood.
Paul right there. You're being too loud, and look at his look. This is the look that you know, that the lady Georgina that I told you about, like. She didn't tell you she was disappointed. Her eyes said it in her face.
Hello, Paulie.
Look, quiet.
Hey, Paulie.
Paulie might have moved slow, but it was only because
That
Paulie,
look, right? And a lot of us, even me, sometimes when somebody does something that annoys us, we don't do that because we just don't feel comfortable. The truth is, a sign of power, a sign that you deserve respect, is doing this.
didn't have to move for anybody.
Must I forever be a beggar?
In my school, I bumped into one of my classmates' paintings, right? Usually if somebody does that to me, I smile because I'm a polite person. But my classmate, he looked at me with an angry face. And that even though it was displeasing, it felt uncomfortable, what he did was right. I ended up respecting him a little bit more because it showed that he's willing to show negative emotions. So that's the first thing, is that you got to be willing to show displeasure in your face and in your words. And a lot of people don't do that because they're afraid of offending people. And because of that, then that encourages them to do even more things. So that's the first thing. So how do you deter someone? Pretty much when somebody's disrespectful towards you, don't smile. Just like children, when you smile, you show them you're not being serious, right? When somebody's being disrespectful, just completely lower your nonverbal cues. Like we're gonna do a video breakdown of Carlton Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where he pretty much shows you how to stand up to someone who's being disrespectful. But pretty much, you talk in a very relaxed tone, right? But assertive tone, and you look at them and you tell them, "Hey, man, I didn't like that," or you give them a look, like literally like a look, right? Or you just don't say something. So if they're being disrespectful, you just give them like, or you express how you feel, or through text message, for example. Sometimes you don't even respond, right? Remember, we watched the video of Paulie where they were being disrespectful, and Paulie didn't say nothing. Paulie just came up and gave him the stern look. Look, humans react to that look. Now the next thing is that when somebody disrespects you, it's your time to show your strength. You don't show strength when things are well. You show strength when people are disrespecting you, not the opposite way around. You don't show strength when things are good. For example, people usually want a leader who's empathetic and soft when there's no war. Right? When there's no conflict. But then if there's conflict, people want more of an authoritarian, powerful leader. It's the same thing, right? You don't show your power when things are good. You show your power when they disrespect you, and that's when you do show it. Usually that's the only time you show your fangs. A dog doesn't show his fangs when he's happy. A dog shows his fangs as a way to warn you that if you keep going, I'm gonna bite your ass. So that's one thing. Show your strength when people disrespect you. How do you know? Well, you got to find out in your life. What are the things that people did that was disrespectful that you didn't do nothing about? You got to have a category of things that you ignore, things that you punish with your face, like a child doing something wrong, you give them that look. But then there's things that if that child does, you whoop his ass, right? and then find out what are the things that people do that if they disrespect you, it means that you got to take some space, or things that people do that if they do, you'll never see them again, right? You got to know those things, because if you make that decision in the moment when you like the person, then you're going to lower your standards depending on how much you like the person. So if they disrespect you and you really like the person, you're going to lower the bar. Just like in the court system, if the judge is your friend, he's going to sentence you to a lighter sentencing. So that's one thing, right? It's a sign to show your strength. So rather than seeing that as a negative thing, see that as your time to shine. Now, how do you punish it? One, punish it with your absence. Let your unavailability do the dirty work for you. Do not give them any outbursts of anger that actually validates them. People love it when they make you angry, because it says to them, look at him. I remember I was talking to this girl and she made me mad because she was being inconsistent. And I remember listening to her like react to the whole situation and said, man, this is like a soap opera. But the way she said it felt like she liked it. It felt like she liked the drama. It felt like she was the protagonist in a soap opera. I'm like, I can't believe this conflict is validating her. She thinks she's like in the star role of this soap opera, and I'm the chump, right? So don't give them any emotional outbursts. Let your unavailability do the dirty work for you. So if they're not contacting you, don't get mad and say, hey, why don't you contact me? Pull away. But remember, you got to know what type of inconsistencies merit pulling away. What type of inconsistencies merit leaving them. For example, completely leaving them means that they cheated on you. Completely leaving them means that they hit you, right? That's an example. But if they cancel a date randomly, it's one thing for them to cancel a date, but if you notice that they cancel a date last minute, right? Or they said that we're gonna meet you, but they didn't, that's a sign that's something that you gotta think about and say, okay, that's disrespectful. So next time, so if somebody cancels on me last minute, that's fine, but I'm not. But now I'm gonna be busy for the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna let my unavailability do the dirty work for you. If you cancel on me last minute, I'm gonna be busy for 2 weeks. And if you actually like me, that's gonna hurt you. And if you actually don't like me, that's not gonna hurt you. So if I do this, you're not going to be contacting me in those 2 weeks. If you don't contact me in those 2 weeks, if you don't try to make contact, then that means my absence is not hurting you. So that means I got to leave, right? So you let your unavailability do the dirty work for you, and continue. And if they continually keep disrespecting you, you do this as a way to tell them I'm not weak by pulling away. Maybe they said something in front of your friends that you found disrespectful, so you pull away, right? Now, if they continually repeat that behavior, for example, the girl that I was telling you guys about, that she kept blocking me, and she said she blocked me because her ex-boyfriend was staying there because he was homeless, and because of that, they were arguing because she was seeing me, and then he would force her to block me, but she kept doing it, even after she left. Even after he left her, and they're separated completely, she kept doing it. So what did I do? I completely blocked her forever. If you continually, and I let her do it a little bit more than I should, to be honest with you. If you continually let people disrespect you, they lose respect for you. But the problem is that the reason why I let that go was because she was acting like the victim. She was crying. She was like, he's forcing me to do it, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, like the other day, I told her, we talked, and I really liked her. So I was willing to be friends with her. And we talked for an hour and we hung up. And then 30 minutes later, she says, Alexis, I'm blocking you because I'm doing it for me, because I have to get my shit together. And I'm like, I let this go too far. I knew when you kept blocking me, I should have just ended it there, but I didn't. So I felt stupid. So then she unblocked me again and said, hey, can you send me the photos that we took together that my ex deleted, because her ex deleted the photos we took together? Can I have them? And I'm like, so she blocks me and then unblocks me and asks me for the photos we took together. No, that's too much. This is my moment to redeem myself. I should have blocked you, and I didn't. And now this is my moment. And before she sent the other text, I just blocked her. Because this is the thing. People never do things just once. That's what you have to understand. I know they will tell you this is it, but because you're afraid that they're going to repeat it again, simply because you know people never do things just once. Let me show you what Robert Greene said about this. If they disrespected you once, they're going to do it again. That's just how that works.
and who does something kind of nasty to you, they talk behind your back, then they'll say, oh, Robert, that was just, something came over, that isn't me. I'm sorry about that, that just happened. Circumstances made me do that. And you'll be likely
like in my case, right?
Leave them. But the fact is, if they've done that once, they've probably done it many times.
They're gonna block me, they're gonna block you and me again. If they hit you once, they're gonna hit you again.
If people gossip and you hear them gossiping about other people, they'll probably eventually gossip about you. So you want to be able to look at people's patterns and look at their past,
not
and
the words,
trends, and understand that if they've done certain things in the past, they will continue to do them because we humans have compulsive behavior. We're compelled to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again.
And that's the thing, is that it's a compulsion. Some people's disrespect is a pattern, and that's why it's hardest. And that's why you can't expect to change it, because people wire in certain patterns of disrespect, especially towards you, that unfortunately you have to leave. And that's a forever block, because that's too much disrespect. You punish dark, real disrespect with complete and utter coldness. You never see them again. Punishment doesn't mean that you're gonna fix them. Punishment means that this is how you're gonna treat me. It's not about getting them back. It's about alerting them how they're gonna treat you, and letting them know that if you do this, I'm leaving. This is not me trying to fix you. This is me just saying I want peace in my life. Now, the next thing is, if you break up and they want to go back, make them pay a price. Make them pay a price. Make them lick your ass. I told this girl, right? Because this girl, pretty much, like, she acted like she had no choice, because we were seeing each other and her ex wanted to stay at her place because he had no place to stay. And I was like, look, dumbass, don't let him stay in your place. And she was like, don't worry. We weren't in a relationship. We were not in a relationship. So that's why I let it happen, to be honest with you. Anyway, so he said he was going to leave 3 days. In 3 days, 3 days came by, he didn't want to leave. He was arguing with her that he didn't want to leave. And then the week went by, he didn't leave. And then she finally texted me and said, Alexis, I'm free. He left, he's gone. She came over, and then the next day she blocked me. He didn't actually leave, he was still there, right? And I remember just feeling stupid. But then I'm like, why isn't she visiting? Because I couldn't contact her because he blocked me, but in reality, she let him block me. And I'm allowing all of this because I'm paying attention to her words. If I really looked at the behavior said, I don't like you, I prefer him. He has more control over me than you. And no, I disagree. She did like me, but the issue was that, like I always tell you guys, sometimes the past has more power than you. You don't fight the past. If you're dealing with someone who has trauma and has unresolved issues with their ex, you're not gonna win. And if you try to win, you're gonna take it personal, and that's so unfair to you. You can't beat the past. You just can't. And taking that as a challenge and taking that personal, you're letting them win. What I should have done, I knew. First of all, she lied to me to a certain point about their relationship, so that's kind of not my fault. But my reaction to the inconsistencies was my fault, right? Like I said, if you think back, there were moments when you could see when you should have left. What I want you to do is remember those moments, so that the next time a situation like this happens, you already have wisdom, you already have experience. So it does take you to get disrespected multiple times, so that you can see what are the things that you permit or not. Like, you gotta observe the things that look bad but are not, versus the things that don't look bad but are bad, and because that's the only way you can learn. And because I liked her, I sort of let that happen. So then she finally moved out, and because she had to go to another country, and he left. Well, the only reason why he left was because she had to really leave. So it's not like she kicked her out. And then she was like, hey, how can I make that up to you? Is there a way I can make it up to you? And I was like, look, man, for a whole month, you kept giving me excuses why you couldn't see me. And you literally lived 15 minutes away. You literally chose him over me. And then she was like, I just couldn't do it. I was so traumatized. I just had no control over it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? If you because she knows she fucked up. She knows, and she even admitted, I know I fucked up. I'm healing. And I was like, all right, you really want me back? And she was like, yeah, I'll do anything. All right, then you're gonna be my sex slave for a whole month. You literally, because they slept together, they did everything, all under the guise of her, he is manipulating her, and I can't do, and I don't know how to escape. And she was like, I'm not gonna do that. And I'm like, okay, so and by the way, people who are watching this, if you judge me for this, please unsubscribe to the channel. This is not the channel for you, okay? Please do it, I swear to God. And she was like, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, so you disrespect me and you just think I'm just gonna take you back? She was like, what else can I do? And I was like, okay, then fucking cook me dinner naked. She was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, okay, you know what? Clearly you are sorry, but are not sorry enough to do something about it. And that's why you don't take people back, because clearly this girl's gonna repeat the same shit. So we ended it. I ended it. I'm not gonna do that. So you're sorry, but you're not willing to do something to show me that you're sorry. Really? So you want me to just let you disrespect me and take me back and take you back? And I was right, because when we talked about it, and I told her never to block me again. We talked about it, we agreed to be friends like an idiot. And then at night, an hour later, like I said, she blocks me. She says she has to block me because of her. And I was like, dude, Alexis, your shit that you say in your videos are so right. She did it again. And I was like, okay, that's enough. I try to work it out, and she just doesn't see, she seems to be sorry, but she doesn't seem to want to do something to make it up. But yes, she does it again. And that's when I completely ended it, because that was just too disrespectful. And that was a mistake of me letting it go that far. People, I'm never wrong about this. And it shocks me, even for me. I'm never wrong about this. And if that girl ever wants to work it out with me, she's gonna have to lick my ass. And that is not, yeah, people, yeah, you heard that. And that is not a metaphor. Whether or not I shower, I don't know. And if she's listening, that's what you're gonna have to do. It's over. Oh my God, Father Alex is resolving his personal issues through like a diss track on YouTube. Yeah. And it was my fault. I let it happen, people. And the reason why I let it happen was because the chemistry was too good. It was really good. And and exactly the things that I tell you, I made that mistake. You know? And now I don't know what she's up to now, but I'm disgusted by her. And you should treat disrespect with disgust. Not with sadness, but with disgust. Now the feeling that I feel is just complete disgust, right? And never gonna go back, man, because I know how I feel. When I feel this way, it's usually over. But that's how you do it. You punish with your absence, either temporary or permanent. You gotta know what are the permanent actions that require, what are the things that they do that require actions. And above all, when you're judging disrespect, don't look at the words, look at the action, unless they personally attack you with their words, okay? So that means if they flake on you today and they're sorry, for example, this girl would say, even to the girl that I'm seeing, because they were friends, let's hang out, you know, because she needed to talk to someone because of how bad the situation was, and then she would cancel on her too. But the reason why we couldn't really see through it was because of how sad she acted, or how much of a victim she acted. It really worked. Like, it really worked on us, especially because we're nice people. But I had to step up, and I had to be like, you know what, we gotta get caught on this bitch. And that's how it works. The most important thing is using your anger, right? Because when somebody's disrespectful, especially if you're a nice person, you are very quick to forgive people. And that's good for some things, but that's bad if you don't know how to control it. Use your anger to allow you to follow through. And anger should only be used to keep people away, not to get revenge or to attack them. That's the whole point of anger. The point of anger is to get you to act, to confront them, get you to act, and get you to act to keep them away from you. Never for revenge. That's uncontrollable anger. Because, for example, the story that I said about that girl was keeping me away is disgust, honestly. But that disgust is also filled with some anger. It's like the bitterness of that disgust is the anger. And that anger has no hatred towards her as a person per se. It's more so what she represents to me. That's not something that I want. I wish you the best. I want you to be successful, but please stay the fuck away from me, right? And as long as you practice not hating the person, and you just keep the anger merely strictly to the situation, not the person. In other words, I don't want me and you together. Not I hate you. Not I hope you die. No, this dynamic I don't like. It disgusts me. Right? That type of mindset allows you to use anger and stay rational, because when you use anger, sometimes it could turn into you wanting revenge. And when you do that, now you're getting reattached to that person, and now you liking them, and now you're reinvesting in it, because anger creates a lot of love, but the type of love that's toxic and that's difficult to leave. This type of thing that I'm talking about is a mixture of anger and mindfulness. Being present, using your anger like you use a sword. Now, speaking of anger, this is a perfect example of what I call controlled anger. Right, and this example is of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Will Smith, as we can see it here, he's defeated, is dating a female version of the Terminator, and she's being totally disrespectful. And he's just taking it. Well, let's see what causes that, and how does Carlton Bank, which is his cousin, how does he deal with it? Let's watch.
Janet meet Tony. Tony, Janet.
Okay, so this is his cousin, Janet, and let's watch how she begins being disrespectful.
Hi, Carlton. Hi, Will.
Hey, how you doing, Tony?
Right, she doesn't let him speak to other women.
That's my cousin's best friend.
And notice the facial expression is more fear. There's no anger in his part. There's more fear. And this is why anger is so important, because your anger sometimes can push you past your fears.
Do I look like I care?
Aren't you feeling well, Janet? You seem a little cranky.
And notice how he's speaking completely different than Will Smith. Will Smith speaks in a, watch.
How you doing, Tony? That's my cousin's best friend.
Do I look like I care?
Right?
Aren't you feeling well, Janet? You seem a little cranky.
And that matters. The way that you talk matters, because when somebody's trying to intimidate you, if you don't respond with fear, they tend to get frustrated. And they either get more agitated, which reveals their card, or they start to respect you. And the way that he's talking in a more firm voice. That's your paralanguage.
No, she's just kidding around, Carlton. That's what makes it so much fun.
Will, this is a great jacket.
Thanks.
Right? Okay, that's how he's supposed to act. And notice how she controls him with the eyes.
Jacket.
She's looking at him. She doesn't say a word, because that's how you show your dominance.
Thanks.
Right?
Are you like saying grace or what?
Yeah, I've been praying a lot lately.
And this is the thing about her, like I said. The reason why she has so much control over him is also her willingness to get angry and show it. I'll be honest with you. I've been intimidated by women who show anger so willingly. Especially when I don't want to leave, there's a certain intimidating factor. The way that she's doing it is toxic, but you guys can sense the soul of what I'm saying, is that you have to be okay with making it awkward for some people. Remember the story of my classmate who he was being made fun of, and we were all drunk, but we didn't notice we were making fun of him, honestly. And one of his friends just told all of us, he was like, "Hey, I don't like the way you're talking about him." And we noticed we were being disrespectful. It got awkward, but we all gained respect for him afterwards. But to gain that respect, he had to be okay with getting dirty. He had to be okay with intimidating, with being able to ruin the vibe for the sake of his friend. And only anger, controlled anger, can take you to that place.
William, if you don't stop talking out of the side of your mouth, you're going to be talking like that permanently.
All right, people, you see, this is when you call the cops. Like somebody, Will Smith, oh my God, this is like his relationship with Jada. Holy crap.
Ew, break out the Midol.
Right, Jazz. Does he know Jazz?
Now you're going to see how Carlton speaks to her.
Jackson?
William, ever since we've got here, you've been going on and on about Carlton this and Carlton that. Boy, save your charm for the girl on your arm.
And she's willing to be disrespectful in front of everyone.
Someone has a rude hat on tonight.
Okay, relax, relax.
William, my soda is warm.
Yo, Gia.
Jesus Christ.
I need more ice.
You need more ice. What?
When he says he needs, you need more ice, what? The reason why, this is, if you notice the way she looked at him when he said that, if he would have said, you need more ice, what? She would have just ignored him. But because of the way that he said it, she felt like his authority was a threat to her authority. And the only reason, like I'm going to talk about, the only reason why he feels the need to be aggressive is because she's being unjustifiably aggressive towards someone who doesn't deserve it. So his place of anger comes from a place of righteousness.
I need more ice in my warm soda.
Here we go, watch. And usually this type of behavior comes because somebody was spoiled. Her parents most likely let her behave that way. And so a lot of the times when people act this way, sometimes it's because they're just hoping for somebody to put them in their place. They're hoping for somebody to show to them, putting them in their place in their minds. It means they care. It's like kids whose parents let them do anything. They found their parents allowing them to be disrespectful as a sign of you don't love me. Some kids. And some adults, all they want is somebody to put them in their place. Seriously. Now, you don't do that for that reason. But what I'm telling you is that there's a part of human nature that people, if you just stay looking at appearances, you're just going to see an intimidating girl.
You need more ice, please.
And the firm voice is what matters. And if you look at Will Smith, he's petrified. He's petrified. His face is all reactive. There's a lot of emotions. But Carlton is what? Like, I remember how I told you, there's a firmness. His voice is quiet. It's more like the firmness.
Say to me?
He said, you need more ice, please.
Because so he stood up to her. And the way that he stood up to her, the truth was, it was all in his tone of voice, honestly. Because if he would have said, you need more ice, please, what that would have done is made her even more aggressive. And just the tone, like, notice the tone, right? Her, she sounds, there's an emotion, there's anger. Him, there's controlled firmness within himself. And that sturdiness, that ability to stay grounded when you're confronting someone and stay calm comes through doing it. And you don't have to create problems. All you have to do is just confront the little moments, little confrontations in life. You got to pay your bills. You got to fire this person. You got to hire this person. You got to pay. You got to confront this person. You got to tell off this person. You got to speak your mind to this person. Speak to mind to, like, little moments of you standing up for yourself will build up that habit and build up those muscles.
Heads up.
And I can promise you, their fear is invigorating her. But his lack of fear also is conflicting. It's fighting against the fear of the room, right? And what that does is that it just shows your inner strength, where everyone else is afraid except you. And some people just want to intimidate you. And all you have to do is stay firm. And the way you do that is just being willing to walk away, like we'll see in this video.
Well, I'm sorry. I've got to say something. Janet, your behavior this evening has been completely unacceptable.
And the reason why he's doing it is because he's not afraid of her. And usually when it comes to people, like, we're not afraid of people killing us, but what we are afraid is of losing them. That's the other metaphor of death, right? We may not die, but we're gonna metaphorically lose them. And that creates fear. And so you'll react like this. But the willingness to leave them is what creates the courage. It's what reflects strength.
Carl, where I come from, manners count for a lot. I'm sorry I've got to say this, but I simply can't sit back and allow this rudeness to continue.
And that comes,
You owe
and what caused that is anger, right? Anger and being fed up. That's it. It's not fear. He wasn't feeling fear. He was more so feeling contained anger.
You owe every one of us an apology, especially that poor waitress. And if you refuse, we are taking you home and continuing the evening without you. Do I make myself clear?
One, again, it's the right, the willingness to kick her out, the willingness to send her back where she came from, right? And that is what caused this effect.
You know I'm gonna miss him.
This is what happens when women are too domineering. They become this woman. And when women date men who are afraid of them, they become that woman. And when you become that woman, you attract a man like Will Smith. Predator attracts prey. But this predator was really a predator out of self-defense. What she wanted was somebody to take the reins and let her be a woman. And now Carlton is gonna get a woman who is who's feminine in terms of like not masculine, like a Terminator, like she was, all because she just wanted to finally trust a man who could domineer her. And domineer is not like a negative term, but put her in her place, right? Some people just want somebody to put them in their place. Like me, I don't mind being put in my place if you're right. Being put in my place is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not a negative thing.
Do I make myself clear?
Right? But that's right there. That's human nature. That's human nature. At its finest, that's human nature.
Yes, Carlton.
Right? And you get that response because they just don't know human nature. Right? They're looking at human nature from a place of fear, not from an elevated perspective where you sort of could see everything, not just from the point of view of fear, where you can see the whole panorama. And you develop that ability through a meditation practice, like literally that. Like that allows you to see the wisdom, knowing this is wisdom, right? Because it's so counterintuitive, but it is true. When you don't take people's shit and you defend yourself, like your child being attacked by a bully, you stand up for your child. If you stand up for yourself from that perspective, from that self-righteous, because notice the reason why he stood up to her was because he felt righteous. He knew what she did was wrong, and he knew that she deserved to be put in her place. Right? Why? Because that was the anger emanating from him. It was the anger that allowed, the righteous anger that allowed Malcolm X to become a civil rights leader. The same with Martin Luther King. The anger. Even Jesus got angry and defended the house of God because he saw people gambling. The righteous anger. Some of you guys get hurt, and because you are so gaslit and you have such low self-esteem, you blame yourself. And you get angry at yourself instead of getting angry at the other person and using that anger to deflect them and push them away. So rather, you push yourself away from yourself and you alienate yourself. And that creates self-hatred, man. And that creates even more lack of self-awareness and more dependency on somebody else. Now, since we're watching how to confront disrespect, this is more of the subtle form of disrespect. This is more of how to confront them in normal conversations. Let's talk about how to prevent people from trying you so that you don't have to punish people. Okay? And that is as important as how to punish people who are disrespectful towards you. And this part is from the 33 Strategies of War. And this is actually from my Robert Greene book club. And if you guys want to join the Robert Greene book club, you can click on the description down below and purchase and become a Patreon supporter. And there you get access to my whole library of Robert Greene books where I review it in a similar fashion.
Create a threatening presence. Deterrence strategies. The best way to fight off aggressors is to keep them from attacking you in the first place. To accomplish this, you must create the impression of being more powerful than you are. Build up a reputation. You're a little crazy. Fighting you is not worth it. You take your enemies with you when you lose. Create
that's why
and make it credible with it.
That's why people don't fight people who have nothing to lose. because those types of people are dangerous. Like people who are in prison, right? Who have death row. You don't want to fight that person.
A few impressively violent acts. Uncertainty is sometimes better than overt threat. If your opponents are never sure what messing with you will cost, they will not want to find out.
And so the way to do that is you become predictable when they see you and they understand you from the jump, right? When you only show them one side of your personality. But you become harder to read if you get in touch and allow yourself to feel the parts of you that are more aggressive, that are the harder parts of your personality. And unfortunately, that comes down to you facing your fears and slowly learning how to be literally more aggressive. And this is only for people who are passive. This is not for the Terminators out there who love confronting people. This is not for you, Jessica, the Puerto Rican girl, none of that kind of stuff, okay? Jose, the Puerto Rican, no, stop it, okay? This is not for you. This is for freaking Melissa, the white girl, fucking Bob, the programmer. Sounds like they're all white. Right? But the whole point is that your background, your history of being a victim, your history of being hurt is pretty much advertised in your face. And that's the issue, is that it's hard to hide, right? If you've always been bullied, you're going to attract bullies. And if you've never been bullied and you've always been the bully, you're going to attract victims. So unfortunately, this is just fear. Like when you show fear in your face, what that means is that you haven't confronted your fears yet. You're not confronting them face to face. And so you have to confront your fears in the form of the outside world. And unfortunately, this is not like a one thing solution, but it just comes down to get yourself in uncomfortable situations. That doesn't mean get into fights, but lean towards being more uncomfortable. Do things that are uncomfortable because that's where your fear lies. And by doing things that are uncomfortable, starting a new business, doing that thing that you always wanted to do, approaching that girl, approaching that guy, taking a risk and saying that I like you, that I love you, confronting that bully, those little moments of fear that you force yourself to do, force yourself to confront, over time will slowly change your demeanor. Because your demeanor and the way that you walk is a reflection of you. And unfortunately, the only way for you to really change from somebody who gets disrespected, doesn't get the respect, comes through your actions. There's not a magical video or a magical thing that you have to snap or say that it'll just take it away. And unfortunately, a lot of people watching this want to confront those fears and not get bullied without confronting them. This is a dragon you got to take down. Like, for example, for me, my fear was being bored and being alone. I went to a 10-day meditation retreat, and that to me was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I confronted my fear. I followed through and I finished it. The problem is that it's just hard. Not impossible, it's just hard. And a lot of people just don't have the willpower or the support.
Play on people's natural fears and anxieties to make them think twice. Reverse intimidation. Inevitably in life, you will find yourself facing people who are more aggressive than you are. Crafty, ruthless people who are determined to get what they want. Fighting them head on is generally foolish. Fighting is what they are good at, and they are unscrupulous to boot. You will probably lose. Trying to fend them off by giving them part of what they are after, or otherwise pleasing or appeasing them, is a recipe for disaster. You are only showing your weakness, inviting more threats and attacks.
Exactly. And that's why you have to attack at the first sight of disrespect. Like, obviously, there's context, right? This is the problem with me saying this, is that there is going to be context, and some situations apply more to others, right? Like, you can't confront your boss because he was being disrespectful that one time. There's a certain, like, there are rules, and at the same time there are rules that should not be followed under certain circumstances. So this is why I'm telling you, like, listen to this, but this comes with practice, learning how to do this.
Giving in completely, surrendering without a fight hands them the easy victory they crave and makes you resentful and bitter. It can also become a bad habit, the path of least resistance in dealing with difficult situations. Play on people's natural paranoia.
This is big.
Instead of threatening your opponents openly, you take action that is indirect and designed to make them think. This might mean using a go-between to send them a message, to tell some disturbing story about what you are capable of. Or maybe you let them spy on you, only to hear something that should give them cause for concern.
This is
Making your
why
enemies think.
this is why having a reputation of not taking bullshit is so important. Because if you start accepting bullshit, people will notice you accepting bullshit, and by just in the act of imitation, people will start disrespecting you more because they see other people disrespecting you. And it's like, if you ever been bullied, you'll notice that the kids who get bullied by more people. Weakness, unfortunately, draws predators. It draws people's desire to manipulate you. That's just how people are.
Think they have found out that should give them cause for concern. Making your enemies think they have found out you are plotting a countermove is more effective than telling them so yourself. Make a threat, and you may have to live up to it, but making them think you are working treacherously against them is another story. The more veiled menace and uncertainty you generate, the more their imaginations will run away with them, and the more dangerous an attack on you will seem. Establish a frightening reputation. This reputation can be for any number of things: being difficult, stubborn, violent, ruthlessly efficient.
Steve Jobs had the reputation of being difficult. But the point is that if you tell your partner that you were played, if you tell your partner that you were abused, if you take, like, especially in the beginning, and you give off that victim vibe, that might attract the wrong person. That's why I keep that type of information for much later on. Because if you tell someone that you were easily manipulated, I'm telling you, people, you'd be surprised how often people would then start to manipulate you because you confess it's easy to manipulate you. Like, people do that type of stuff, and a lot of people get shocked when I say that, but it's just human nature. Like, it's just human nature. You don't really know what people want, you know? So saying that type of stuff might perk the ear off of the wrong person.
To create this image, you may every now and then have to play a bit rough, but eventually it will become enough of a deterrent to make those occasions rare. It will be an offensive weapon, scaring people into submission before they even meet you. In any event, you must build your reputation.
Yeah, and he talks about how to develop that
Carefully, allowing no inconsistencies. Any holes in this kind of image will make it worthless.
And amongst your friends, you gotta have that reputation of somebody who doesn't take shit from people, especially when they're recommending you for a relationship, because you want them to say you're not easy. You want them to say you don't take shit. But if they know you as a person who's always getting played, who's always getting used, who's always complaining about the partner who keeps disrespecting them, then how the hell do you think they're gonna talk about you when they're recommending you to somebody else? Like, them describing you to somebody is just gonna make them salivate to use you. So realize that demanding respect from this person doesn't just stop there. Because we're all in a web, and we're all interconnected. And somebody's respect for you increases the other person's respect for you. But somebody's disrespect for you increases the next person's disrespect for you, because we can sense things. They may see other people disrespect you, but also they will see the battle scars of disrespect in your face and in your nonverbal cues.
Deterrence and reverse intimidation in practice. King Edward I of England was a fierce 13th century warrior king who was determined to conquer all of the British Isles.
People with your words, chastise them with your actions. All right. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget, we're having 60% off all of our courses using the coupon code Mindful. And if you guys ever want to work with me one-on-one, go to mindfulattraction.org to work with me one-on-one. And I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.